I want you to steal these 4 tips to improve your article writing, not only to impress more clients with your clips, but to really be proud of the work that you get published. I'm Mandy Ellis, and I built a 6-figure freelance writing business, and now I teach other freelance writers how to scale to 5-figure months and get their dream clients without the burnout, stress, and overwhelm. These 4 tips are the only thing you need to move forward into better article writing. Number 1, you need to have a barf draft. You need to just put everything down on the page. And my barf drafts can be anywhere from 10,000 words to 30,000 words. It is all of my interview notes, all the quotes, all the research, all the everything. And that allows me to just get everything organized. We are putting this barf draft together just to have, like, here's the header, here's all the notes, here's the header, here's all the notes. We're not doing headlines, we're not nitpicking, we are literally just organizing. If you don't have a specific strategy to organize your work as you write an article, I can guarantee after reading thousands and thousands of student articles, it's going to be messy, there's going to be disconnected thoughts, your transitions are not going to be very good. And the narrative aspect of the piece, even if it's a listicle, even if it's kind of like a roundup piece, is going to be messed up. So you have to get to the point where you have a detailed, or as detailed as you're going to get. Mine is like 5 headers, and I put all the notes under the headers. You need to have some kind of process to organize all your notes, all of your interview quotes, all of your research, everything in one place, and not judge it, just organize it so that you can move forward into this kind of barf draft format. Number 2, this goes with the barf draft. So your first draft, you can also call that kind of your barf draft. We have our notes and organizing barf draft, and we have our barf draft of us writing. You need to just let it go. When you're writing this barf draft, you need to keep the flow going. So leave yourself notes, leave yourself highlights. This is what I do to make sure I'm keeping the flow going and I'm not doing this self-editing. I'm not getting stuck in word choices. I'm not like, oh, I need to go check the transcript or check this thing. I'm just writing it. So when you're going through this draft, this very first draft of yourself, the most important thing is keeping the flow, because that stands up a lot of times when you're editing. So what I do is I end up writing the dumbest sentence that I can put in place. So I'm like, write this thing here, or I'm like, don't forget to mention this thing, or I'll write just the dumbest version of the sentence I want to write, and I can fix it in editing, and I'll highlight it. So when I go through my draft, you will see all of these highlights in there and all these all caps notes, but you need to do something that allows you to preserve the flow. A lot of writers, me included, I started with going through self-editing, and it would take me forever to get a draft done. Yes, my editing time was really short, 30 minutes to an hour, but the writing time took forever. You need to let yourself go. When you're doing this first barf draft, when you have all your notes, your goal here is to get the general organization of the flow of the story. That's the first draft's point of view, is what is the general outline flow of this thing? What am I trying to accomplish in this thing? And what can I cut from here to make the editing easier? So leave yourself notes, write dumb things instead of smart things, and you can fix them later. Leave yourself highlights, comments, I don't care what it is, but you need to preserve the flow. And if you're someone who's feeling good about your writing, you're like, okay, cool, like we can move forward, but I really need to make more money. I want better clients. I really want to improve the foundation of my business for the long term. I would love for you to check out my 7-day email course, Unskippable. It is the thing that's going to give you the unskippable foundations of freelance writing to get to better clients, to help you kind of leverage your skills, to help you understand how you can build this successful freelance writing business with the right systems, the right processes, the right LinkedIn and website. These are the things you cannot skip. It is a 7-day email course, and I've also given you 50% off. So because you're coming here through YouTube, if you go to mandyellis.com/skip, you can get it for 50% off at $47. And I really want you to understand that these are the things that you will use again and again and again. They build the brick house of a freelance writing business that is successful. They are the things that I have taught so many students that I use over and over again in my own business. And they are things that do not waver in difficult or trying or, confusing or whatever kind of times pop up. They are the things that you can always rely on. So if you go to mandyellis.com/skip, you can check it out. It's $47. Since you're coming from YouTube, you get 50% off. And I also put a few little Easter eggs in there. There's a few little secret tips and a few little fun surprises in there. So I hope you check it out. Number 3 here, you have to ask the right questions on interviews. I have reviewed lots of questions from other writers who are either students or just, people doing interviews, and they're always really basic. In order to get great quotes for your articles, you need to ask very specific, pointed questions. Yes, they should be open ended. Yes, they should be phrasing things in a specific way to like elicit an answer versus someone saying yes or no. But you need to ask them the right questions that guide them into the right things. Like they're not just going to talk about everything under the sun. They are very specific to the article. This is why I like to kind of follow these in my pitch. So when I pitch an article, I will have these questions in the pitch, and then I can just put them in my interview questions. Really easy. I make them specific enough for my pitch. The pitch gets accepted. Then I can just port those questions into the interview because those are specific enough. But I want you to kind of start, when you're doing your questions, start with the big ones like, tell me a little bit about this, right? So what's the most important thing I should know about XYZ, whatever your topic is? Ask them kind of general questions first, then get into really specific questions. Like, don't make them open ended things like, tell me 4 tips for this. Like, it needs to be very process oriented. Like, what's the process someone would go to in order to achieve X, Y, and Z? What would someone do if they want to get involved in this, but they don't have A, B, and C? What would you do, or how would I get started? What are the top 3 steps you recommend for people who have less than 3 years experience? Like really go in to the specifics. That's how you get the juicy, awesome quotes, and you get a lot of personality in those quotes. They're not just generic quotes. They're not just, boilerplate type things. They are things that only you can get in that interview versus even if you're interviewing someone who has done tons of interviews before, these are things, if you ask the right questions, and you allow someone to like really get that personality piece, like you're really going specific, you will get the juicy tidbits that your editors will love in these articles. Even if you're writing for a business, let's say it's business clients, they love these juicy tidbits and they're the personality that you can really get the feeling of the expert. You can really get the feeling of like what someone should do, what's the next step they should take by the reader reading the article. And it really makes the piece shine. So really ask those specific questions on interviews that will change your articles. Please don't go generic, go specific. The fourth one here is that 80% of your editing should be the first 2 to 3, maybe 5 paragraphs. So when you get into your editing part of your article writing, the first 3 paragraphs are going to take 80% of your time. They should take about 80% of your effort because that's the hardest thing. It's really easy to go into the meat of the piece. It's really easy to be like, here's what we're really talking about. Here's all the tips. Here's all the good stuff. Here's how we're going to wrap it up with a bow in the conclusion. But the beginning, if you don't grab someone in the beginning, if you don't hook them in the first paragraph and keep them the first 3 to 5 paragraphs, it's over. It's over. That's why when I go back and do my editing, 80% of my time for my editing is dealing with that rugged, ugly, super difficult first paragraph, and then the second one and the third one. So the first paragraph is always like I'm testing new ways to write like the first sentence. How would I grab this audience? What are different things that I could say that aren't relying on things like whenever you do this or from this to this or how blah 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 blah. There are crutch words that you can notice in articles where people are leaning on certain crutch words to start an article. I want to get away from that as much as possible. So you want to really be careful about that first line. But when you're going through editing, for me, editing can take anywhere from 1 to 4 hours. But I can tell you 80% of my time is that first paragraph, those first 3 paragraphs, and then the transition paragraphs into the next section. So there's like the first few intro paragraphs, they're like 2 to 3 sentences, maybe 4 or 5 sentences. Then the next 2 paragraphs transition into the actual piece. That's the hardest part. Telling people what to do or how to do it or what they should learn, that's the easy part. So when you're going through your article, you should be paying attention to that part. If you don't hook somebody in the beginning, it's over. Even if someone's scanning, they're gonna scan the beginning. They're not just gonna skip all of it and just be like, okay, this. They will scan different parts of it. So even if someone's scanning, we have to capture their attention. So really make sure you're paying attention to that, and then write your headline last. So when you're dealing with this intro stuff, now that we have it all together, your headline is going to be your last piece that you're going to put in because you already know how the piece is shaped out. You've done the hard work with the intro and the initial paragraphs. And now you can finally sum it up in a really great headline. So all of these things together are going to improve your article writing. These are the things that I have found that are the most important pieces of writing your work, getting that flow, getting your organization, making sure you're asking the right questions, making sure you are really editing the piece that matters, like the piece that's going to engage people and pull them in and make them keep reading. All of those things are really important. So I hope that this has been helpful. We are going to keep going over this. We're going to go over content strategy. We're going to go over case studies. We're going to go over emails. We're going to go over different pieces of writing and how you can improve them. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see you on the next one.